Good day, my students. Um, as part of our commitment to bringing up our students in Students Business Club up to the standards to write any internal and external examinations in commerce. So, we are trying to dish out this class from SS2 and in accordance with the scheme of work designed by the Lagos State Government. Where we are having in our first week, that is according to the scheme of work, that is the scheme of work top 10. In our first week, we have a revision, while in our week 2, we have a warehousing. So invariably, we want to discuss warehousing. What do we understand by the word warehousing? As compared to warehouse. These are the two concepts that we want to distinguish for better understanding of the concept that we want to learn. When we talk of warehousing, warehousing is also a noun, and this is connoting an act of storing goods ahead of demand. Ahead of demand. Meanwhile, this one is also a noun. Warehouse is a noun, but a noun in the sense that it is simply talking about a physical location or storage where goods are being kept pending usage or demand. Now, definitely see that warehousing is an act. This is an act. Meanwhile, warehouse is a physical location, that is the storage itself for keeping goods pending usage or pending payment on such goods. Let's now look into what we mean by the types of warehouse. Let's talk about the types of warehouse. Types of warehouse. One, we have bonded warehouse. Two, we have the state warehouse. Three, we have private warehouse. Four, we have manufacturers. Warehouse. Like we can see that as we're having this, so also we have the public warehouse. Public warehouse. Now let's briefly go through the bonded warehouse. Warehouse. What do we mean by the bonded warehouse? Let's see what we're having in the text. Bonded warehouse, this is a place where goods whose customs duties have not been paid. That is a warehouse where, let's say for instance now, in international trade, or we call it in foreign trade, there are some goods that are being imported into the country, which are subject to the customs dues or customs levies. And in actual fact, if such goods have not been cleared, that means that the custom duties have not been paid on them. So in this case, such goods are stored in the bonded warehouse. That is, this is a warehouse where goods whose customs duties have not been paid. As you can see, it is under the control of the Nigerian Customs and Excise Authority. So that means that once the tariff have not been paid on such goods, they will be kept for safety in the bonded warehouse, pending the time that such payment will be made on them, and they will be released for transportation to the importer's shop or warehouse. Now, let's briefly go through the state warehouse now. State warehouse. State warehouse. Like you can see that the state warehouse and the bonded warehouse compared, the two of them are under the control of the government. The state warehouse and the bonded warehouse is under the control of the Ministry of Interior, which under which we have the Customs and Excise Authority. But now, let's talk of the state warehouse. The state warehouse, let's see what we have in our text. Under the state warehouse, we say that a state warehouse is owned and controlled by the government of a country. It is a place where contraband or smuggled goods seized by the customs authority are kept until they are auctioned. Let's say, for instance, now it's possible for the government of a country to decide to balance up the balance of payment. That you should know that the balance of payment is the rate at which the country's import is exchanged for the country's export. So when the export is more than the import, it shows that we are having favorable balance of payment. That is, the importation of both visible and invisible goods, and the exportation of both visible and invisible goods. So when the rate at which the export is is going in a country, the export of a country is more than the import of such a country, it shows that there is a favorable balance of payment. But when the reverse is the case, that we are having the rate at which the import of a country is exchanged for the export of that country, and in such a way that the import of such a country is more than the export of that same country, it shows that we are having unfavorable balance of payment. What that simply means is that there is over reliance on importation. That is, we do not take good use of our locally produced goods. Let's say, for instance, now, like Nigeria laid a ban on the importation of foreign rice, maybe from Thailand or any other country where they import rice. But there are some people that are, even at that, will still want to bring in such goods. Let's say another one is in the textile industry now. Of course, we have the local textile companies that are manufacturing such goods too. But most of our people, because of unnecessary ostentation, they can decide not to buy locally made goods. They might decide to say, okay, I want to wear imported goods. Then they can decide to get such lace, maybe for instance like a Swiss lace from abroad. They say, I want to don something that people will see me and know that I am already made. In that case, they will use that avenue to build the foreign reserve of another country, that is the exporting country, where they are in Nigeria importing such foreign goods. The government can decide, through the government policy, can decide to put a ban on such. Then, if such people should decide to bring in the such goods, it's called contraband goods, and they are being caught, the customs authority will have to seize such goods and keep such goods in the state warehouse until when they auction them. The auction means that they will have to sell such goods, because the federal government will not decide to wear such clothes or will not decide to consume such items. Instead of that, they will have to sell it out at a very cheap rate, to the extent that even those imported it will have to lose. Not even by them, it will be, the proceeds will go to the coffer of the federal government as a kind of a revenue to them. So in that case, once such goods are being seized, it shows that it will be kept in the state warehouse until they are being auctioned, that is, until they are being sold cheaply. That is the state warehouse. Now, let's go to the private warehouse. When you say private warehouse, what do you mean by the private warehouse now? In the private warehouse, it is possible as a business person, as a capitalist, that you can have such amount of money and decide to go into a business. Meanwhile, trying to site a warehouse is another option. It's a business venture where you can have your own warehouse, and once you have your warehouse, if anybody is in need of the service, that is the storage of their goods, pending the time that they may be in need of such goods, they can decide to rent a space or a storage space in the private warehouse, but subject to the payment of a rent. So meanwhile, it is possible that we have the private individuals also venturing into having the private warehouse. So we have the manufacturer's warehouse. Manufacturer's warehouse. What do you mean by the manufacturer's warehouse? Like the manufacturers will have to produce in very large quantities. By producing in large quantities, and it is not the entire production that the wholesalers will come and pack away at the same time. And perhaps because of change in fashion and taste, the manufacturers can decide to produce ahead of demand. So in this case, they will have to keep such goods in their own warehouse, pending the demand for such goods. And then the public warehouse, like we can see, and then it is public warehouse. Let's say the public warehouse, as you can see. Then let's go through what we're having in the text under the public warehouse. The public warehouse right here, it's saying that it's a warehouse owned and operated by private individuals who let it out to anybody for safekeeping of goods, and they are usually located near the seaport. Like we know that when you talk of the public warehouse, just like the private warehouse that we are talking about, it is owned by the private organization. And most of these warehouses are being sited very close to the ports, either the seaport or the airport, for safekeeping of the goods, either being seized by the government because they are contraband goods, or either being kept pending the payment of the customs and excise dues, or either being kept pending the time that the owners will come for its clearance. So these are what we have as under the types of a warehouse. To subscribe to my YouTube page so that you can be notified anytime I drop a new video on a lesson that we're having at hand. As it were now, we are going to follow the scheme of work one after the other, that is week in, week out, until we get to the end of the topics that we are supposed to go over throughout the term. Thank you so much.